Okay. So how are you? Nice to see you. Okay, so today we're going to have our first web conference. I'm going to share the screen. Can you see it? Yes. Okay, so welcome. First of all, we're going to talk about the activities that you had for the previous week and the following week, which is the phase 2, right? So that was the first activity that I just evaluate, of course. So you can check your grades. If you have any complaint, you can let me know on time, okay? So remember that you have 3 days to communicate or let me know if you don't agree with the grade that you acquired. So that was the discussion forum. That was the data management procedures. That was the first stage that you had to do the previous week. And the second one, it is the intermediate phase, which is we are instrument administration. Here is what you are doing now. And of course, it is analyzing your instruments that you have in your project that you are developing right now. Yes. So it was open in February 18 and it's closed in March 17. Okay. So please take into account the dates for that. Yeah, I don't know if you have questions about that part. Okay. So today we're going to have a small review about research types and review. So do you remember these kind of things? Okay. So research types. Do you remember what are those?
Okay.
No? Okay. Well, what is the difference between method and methodology? Do you remember? Or do you have any idea about it? Okay. So methods are the specific approach to collecting your data, and methodology is the theoretical framework to support your methods chosen. It is a perspective taken on the research which dictates how it is approached. In this case, we are going to find a case study, narratives, testimonials, phenomenology, ethnographic, etc. Okay. Today we're going to see some of them. It is, I think, a small review because I know you are working on qualitative studies and quantitative studies. Okay. So well, we are going to see that case study, narratives, action research, participatory action research. Do you know or do you recognize some of the difference between them? Or do you have any idea about it?
Well, I have had some experience working with action research, where it follows a cycle. It's observation. Um, I don't know. I'm listening something, some noise. Observation, planning, action, an evaluation, so it follows that cycle. And I remember about participatory action research also. If this is when the researchers is also implied in the population or maybe I'm not sure, but the research in that case maybe can affect the researchers as well. Is if that remember that in the correct way. Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, we're going to check about it in a bit. So, somebody else? Something that you want to tell us about it? No? We're going to start. So, case study. As a research strategy, the case study is used in many situations to contribute to our knowledge of individual, group, organizational, social, political, and related to phenomena. What do you understand for that? No? Have you heard this one before? Okay, so this one is basically a small situation that you take from like a population and you study the specific things from that situation and from this group. Okay, so that's what it says. It is a social or political and related to phenomenon. So basically, it's like a common phenomenon that we're going to find in our context, in our area, and we are going to study or we are going to create like a project to study it. Okay, so when to use it? How and why questions? Explanatory of descriptive what? Exploratory or interpretive. Generalizable to theoretical propositions, but not other populations or context. What it means? Basically, it is like interpret what happened over there, right? What happened in the social phenomenon that you found in your community, in your context, or whatever, right? Or also you can do it in the explorative way, like explore what happened with that, of course, but it doesn't mean that you need to have a result in that case. So, as it is said, it doesn't work in all the populations or contexts. It is something for a specific phenomenon that occurs in a specific context. So here it is like some theory about a case study is an empirical inquiry that investigates a contemporary phenomenon within its real life context, especially when the boundaries between phenomenon and context are not clearly evident. What do you think it could be an example of this one that you consider it is a phenomenon or in the real life or in a specific context? No? Anyone? We're going to touch a little bit later. Relies on multiple sources of evidence with data needing to converge in a triangulation equation as another result, and benefits from the prior development of theoretical propositions to guide data collection and analysis. So basically, as I said, it is not necessary to have a conclusion or a result because you are exploring or you are exploring or interpreting a phenomenon over there. Okay, so it is not like when you analyzing the quantitative way, like okay, 10 students learn, 5 students didn't learn. Okay, so in this case, it's more like a interpretative way. Okay, So remember that qualitative research is most of the time what you interpret, what you analyze, what you solve with this, okay? So we have this one, which is the common one that we use in qualitative studies, and it is narratives, stories. It could be in oral way or it could be in written part. In the human science should be defined provisionally as discourses with a clear sequential order that connect events in a meaningful way for a definite audience and thus offer insights about the world and our people's experiences of it. So I'm going to show you later in a bit when we finish this part. In my master thesis, I developed these kind of things. I developed this kind of study in narrative, and it was really, really, really great to have to read these kind of studies because my thesis was related to Boyacá. So this is the department that I lived, and so yeah, it was great to read some of these kind of things, but in the narrative part. Of course, I did it like a small workshops, but it was this part. So this one is basically when you ask people to write or to speak, and you can read or you can write what they have said. Okay, and of course, based on that, you can analyze that information. The common patterns that you are going to find between them. The main characteristics, those are temporal, meaningful, and social. What it means temporal, or what temporal means for you?
Maybe that it has to be linked with a specific period of time.
Yeah. Meaningful.
The phenomenon of study has to be relevant for the population that we are analyzing.
Okay. And the social part?
It implies that maybe this is it has to be like an ethnographic type of research because it implies social relationships and it implies people behavior.
Okay, kind of. Yeah, okay. So in this case, as you mentioned here, what experiences have people had? What is happening? What are people doing? What does it mean to them? That's the main questions that we usually ask when we're going to use this kind of study narrative. Okay, as it is said, narratives is narratives, right? ¿Cierto? So you write and you are going to analyze that information. And also you can have that paper and it can work for you, I don't know, later for another studies. Okay. So it is those are the questions that you keep in mind or you have in mind when we are going to use this kind of study. So what experiences have people had, for example, if we are going to go to our indigenous communities? What is happening? What is happening now in our society? What are people doing? What we are doing in our context? What does it mean to them? What are those contexts or situations mean for us? Okay. Oh, sorry. Well, interest stems life experience of temporal nature of experience, a desire to empower research participants and allow them to contribute to determining what are them. Oh, I don't know what happened here. Okay, wait a minute. I think it shows that one. Well, so basically, it is research participants and allow them to contribute to determining what are the social factors that you're going to find over there. And of course, in the self and the representation of themselves. Also, an awareness that the research, him or herself, is the narrator. So here, the participant or the narrator is the most important actor in this in this study. So people who are narrating these stories or these kind of things are the most important part in our study because they have they have the power with the stories that they are telling us. Okay. So our opening question to what's the crime you forced me? Well, a linking fear with crime, it reveals what sort of fear interests the interviewer, what is so doing in my work okay, to suppress the meaning of fear to us. Well, it is an example that it is talking about a crime, of course, but it is similar when you tell these kind of things, right? Like, okay, you start asking what happened, what was the scene, what was the crime, what were the things, and you start writing about it, right? So, and based on that, you can ask or you can assume different things or different perceptions about it. So basically, this is an example of that. Like when we use the biographical method, it is just writing about you, or it is writing just about another person. So this what about it. So uh, this one it is an activity that it is for you. And it is, can you tell me about how crime has impacted on your life since you've been living here? What do you think? Taking into account our Colombian context.
Okay, in the real life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I currently live in the Urabá region.
Okay.
I live in Turbo, Antioquia, and as you know, this region has a a big amount of crimes of violence because of the drugs, because of yeah, that business. So even though I have never seen a crime in with my own eyes, I've every day I've listened to some cases. Okay, somebody was killed, somebody was attacked because of some debts, business debts, and it's common. But I didn't I wasn't born here,
Okay.
but I am living here I have been living here for 2 years. And at the beginning it was hard because I I couldn't walk on the street and staying calm while I was in the street. So I was thinking about anything could happen. But nowadays I am just used to it, right? I listen to the news and I am just used to it. So it's like being exposed to this context it has made me like I don't know. I have learned to be indifferent to that situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I am used to.
Okay.
That's not good.
Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna ask you the whole questions. Maybe you can help me with this one. Can you tell me about earlier times in your life when you had been anxious? Number 6.
Okay, anxious.
Yes.
Last week, for instance, because
Okay.
of yeah, a lot of work to do, and we had lots of meetings, and we have to attend those meetings, working meetings, and yeah, it I felt exhausted, but it was
Okay.
because of the work.
Okay. Well, those kind of questions, and answers that Kelly is giving me now, those are for me like the way to create the narrative part. Okay, she's telling me some facts about the crimes that she has been evidencing where she lived. And of course, it is about the anxious part about her, right? Why she's anxious. So, and according to that, I can create the narrative part. I can create the writing part. Okay, she told me, she said, she what, and after that, of course, I can I can create some common patterns and I can give or analyze this part. Okay, those are some of the questions. Can you tell me about unsafe situations in your life since you have been living here? Can you think of something that you've read, seen, or heard about recently that makes you fearful? Can you tell me about risky situations in your life since you have been living here? Can you tell me about times in your life recently when you have been anxious? Can you tell me about early times in your life when you have been anxious? Can you tell me what it was like moving to this area? So these kind of things on also the questions that we create for our studies conducted to create another part. So in this case, in these kind of questions, help us to create the narrative part. For example, Kelly, who participate in this one. Okay. Well, this is something that Kelly mentioned at the beginning, and in this action research. So it encouraged teacher ownership of the change initiatives, encourage collaboration, and increases teacher willingness to invest time in addressing problems. So it gives teachers, it gives it gives a voice to a teacher. So how we see teaching? Which one? So teaching as information transmission, teacher-centered, content-oriented. Academics see their role as knowing their subject and effectively imparting that knowledge to their students. Teaching and supporting students, learning, student-centered, learning-oriented. Academics see their role and facilitating the process whereby students actively construct meaning and knowledge for themselves. Which one are you?
Okay, we currently see teaching as most related to the second one, like supporting a student, like being the mediator between the student and that uh, place where we want they to be academically. So the second one it's more
Why?
pertinent because we know the learning process or we see the learning process as an active process of the students and we now know that they are not just empty minders that require to be filled with knowledge and that's it. We know that learning is a construction of concepts and and as it happens in the student's mind, so they must be the center of the process, right? So the teaching task is just staying there and providing the tools, the means, the means for them to be able to internalize the information, to be able to do the mental processes that they require to do for learning, analyzing, inferring, and so on.
Thank you, Kelly. So yeah, basically the first one is the traditional teaching, right? Like the teacher-centered and just impart the knowledge. And the second one is that we think that we are doing right now, like construct meaning, and of course, student is the center of the learning, right? In the center of the classroom. Well, based on that, so here in the action research, it is basically when you are involved in the research, right? And of course, the teacher has a voice in this one. So, the way that you collaborate or you integrate your teaching process with the learning process as well. Okay, so the point here is try to construct something, but in which you are involved over there. So here there are some reflective questions for you. What are your conceptions of teaching? Can you think of any recent examples when you felt unable to put your conceptions of teaching into practice? If so, would this be addressed in a pedagogical action research study? What do you think? Besides Kelly, who else can share your opinions? What are
Well,
your
it's
conceptions?
just, I think we are just Telman and me, and Telman it's not in a comfortable place for speaking. So
Oh,
that's
okay,
why
okay.
he's not participating. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So
So,
Teacher,
okay.
I can speak, but you are going to listen music in the background.
that's good.
So where are you from? Where are you? Sorry.
I'm in the public transportation right now, so if you want me, I can participate. But I I warn you that I'm in a setting that is not appropriate for speaking.
That's totally fine. If you want to, that's okay. If no, I respect that. No worries.
Okay. So I'm gonna speak about like the conceptions of that I have about teaching. As my friend Kelly was saying, teaching is an active process, right? What I think is an active process that continually is changing and is evolving. We were speaking about action research, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So in the case of that, I think that one of the most applicable research that we have been doing in education is that type of action research because we want to change a situation, a problem that is continually presenting in the setting of teaching. So that is what I think we need to apply this type of research study in order to change a problem or a situation that occurs. So for instance, one thing that I felt unable to do and to put conception of teaching into practice when the students teaching reading is something difficult. And that is a problem that can emerge. For instance, my research was based on that. And and of course, I think that the problem is not already solved. I mean, the problem is going to be continuing every single time.
Okay. Thank you, Telman. Kelly, what can you tell us? Right. Okay. So those kind of situations that we find in our teaching context, most of the time we can be addressed in a pedagogical research. Okay. So of course we need to, conduct it in a very well structured, step by step, but we can do it. So main characteristics of actional research, according to Camber 2000, social practice, aim toward improvement, cyclical, as you mentioned at the beginning, systematic inquiry, reflective, participative, and determined by the practitioner. Okay, those are the main aspects that we need to take into account in the research, action research. So this is what you, I think, mentioned at the beginning, Kelly. Action research is like acting, observing, reflecting, and planning. And it is a cycle. We never finish the cycle, okay? So planning, acting, observing, reflecting, planning. So it is basically like, okay, if you plan something, identify, inform, analyze. When you plan, and then you act. When you act, it is like triggering, collect, and questioning. Observe, so it is analyze again, report, and sharing, and finally reflect, and it is evaluate, implement, and revise. Okay, and it is of course the cycle that we need to follow when we are going to use this kind of research. Now we have this one, which is similar to the action research, but it has a small difference. So, participatory action research, a new radical methodology to research. That's it. Now, first seeks to understand and improve the world by changing it. At its heart is collective, self-reflective inquiry that researchers and participants undertake so they can understand and improve upon the particles in which they participate and the situations in which they find themselves. The reflective process is directly linked to action, influenced by understanding of history, culture, and local context, and embedded in social relationships. The process of apart should be empowering and lead to people having increased control over their lives. And so what do you understand for that? Nothing? So with this one, the point is that you must be involved, but you have to create like a change. So you are going to find the action that can help you or can help the participants or the context to change by understanding, of course, the history and the culture or the local context where they are involved. Okay, so basically this one is like you make a change, and the previous one is just contribute to in a cycle and never stop research. And this one is like make a change. Okay, so we're going to watch a video related. So, and you're going to tell me what. Yeah, okay. Not that one. Can you listen that?
No, teacher, I think you're not showing the sound of the video.
Okay, let me fix.
Yes, that's better.
Na base da proposta de investigação da Alice estão as epistemologias do Sul. Pode explicar-nos um pouco o que são as epistemologias do Sul?
Eu parto da ideia de que, para nós conhecermos e, sobretudo, conhecermos de uma maneira que seja capacitante, que dê credibilidade e importância a estas experiências não eurocêntricas e que venham de outras regiões do mundo, informadas por outras cosmovisões, por outros universos simbólicos, por outras maneiras de ver a vida, por outras maneiras de ver a natureza e de conceber a natureza. Para isso, nós precisamos realmente de outras formas de conhecimento, porque o conhecimento eurocêntrico, nas ciências sociais e, aliás, nas outras ciências, que também tem muito mais de contextualização cultural do que a gente pode imaginar, esse conhecimento foi construído para não valorizar essas outras experiências. Dou-te um exemplo, o nosso conceito de natureza como recurso natural. Obviamente que é muito difícil hoje, na nossa comunidade científica, nas ciências da vida, nas ciências sociais, que a gente conceba a natureza de outra forma, senão um recurso natural. O rio é um objeto, As montanhas são objetos, os recursos naturais é para explorar, o petróleo é para explorar até ao tutano, podemos explorar estes recursos todos sem nenhum limite. Ora bem, esta concepção de natureza é uma concepção eurocêntrica. Há outras concepções que eu encontrei no meu trabalho, ao longo das minhas investigações, em que a natureza é um ser vivo. Não está separado de nós somos parte da natureza. E, portanto, a natureza não é um recurso natural. A natureza é a terra-mãe de onde vem tudo. E, portanto, nós não podemos agredir a nossa mãe. Não podemos matar a nossa mãe. Portanto, é outra concepção. Como é que eu vou, com o conhecimento científico eurocêntrico, analisar estas questões? Se eu os fizer desta forma, eu descredibilizo. Digo, são loucos. Então, a natureza é mãe. A natureza é um recurso natural, é um objeto, não tem a dignidade. Porquê? Porque o nosso conhecimento está feito na base cartesiana. Da diferença entre as coisas e as pessoas, e, portanto, não podemos sair disso. Portanto, é necessário uma revolução epistemológica. Como eu costumo dizer, não há justiça social global sem justiça cognitiva global. Ora bem, as epistemologias do Sul são exatamente uma tentativa de realizar essa justiça cognitiva global, ou seja, trazer outros conhecimentos para dentro do conhecimento científico, porque são outras maneiras de fazer ciência, inclusivamente. Nem faz sentido dizer que não são científicos, eles são outras ciências que existem noutros contextos simbólicos e que estamos a falar, no fundo, da esmagadora maioria da população. Basta olhar para a China e para a Índia, onde as suas cosmovisões e os seus universos simbólicos e os seus conhecimentos milenares são totalmente distintos daqueles que existem na Europa, para não falar da África, para não falar das comunidades camponesas e indígenas da América Latina e também da própria América do Norte, apesar do extermínio. Portanto, há realmente muitos outros conhecimentos e as epistemologias do Sul vêm trazer isso. O Sul é aqui exatamente o Sul anti-imperial, não é aquele Sul que imita o Norte. É o Sul que resiste e que produz alternativas em relação ao imperialismo e ao colonialismo do Norte. Claro que é evidente que este não é fácil, obviamente, construir esta proposta que tenho vindo a formular como epistemologias do Sul, mas ela é assente em 4 ideias enfim, que muito simplesmente podem ser assim. Por um lado, esses conhecimentos vão resgatar experiências que estão invisibilizadas, que não se conhecem e que nem se sabe que existem, e por outro lado, elas foram produzidas exatamente para serem invisíveis. Chamou isso Sociologia das Ausências. Por outro lado, este conhecimento é um conhecimento que vai dar voz e amplificar o sentido das inovações que têm lugar no Sul global, não como sendo coisas exóticas que não têm interesse ou que são de interesse local, mas são emergências de coisas novas. Sociologia das emergências. Para captar isto, eu preciso de um conhecimento que não pode ser um conhecimento monocultural, porque eu parto da ideia da pluriculturalidade. Logo, o conhecimento tem que ser pluricultural. Tem que haver uma diversidade de conhecimentos. É isso que eu chamei a ecologia dos saberes, que é fundamental para as epistemologias do Sul. Mas como tornar os saberes inteligíveis uns para com os outros? Como, por exemplo, esta natureza, recurso natural versus natureza, a nossa mãe ou a terra-mãe. Bem, nós precisamos de tradução intercultural. E, portanto, a tradução intercultural é outro fenómeno, é outro procedimento que nós temos que utilizar, porque muitas vezes as mesmas aspirações de transformação social progressista são designadas de modos muito diferentes. Têm diferentes conceitos, mas serão assim tão diferentes? Por exemplo, a Europa, sobretudo a partir do século XX e do século XIX, passou a identificar como a ideia mais progressista da transformação social com a palavra socialismo. E essa palavra continua hoje a correr como, digamos assim, uma versão de emancipação social. Se nós formos para outros contextos culturais, provavelmente esta palavra socialismo não soa da mesma forma. E, pelo contrário, tem outras palavras, como, por exemplo, os povos indígenas da América Latina, para designar essa emancipação social. Falam, por exemplo, de dignidade, falam de respeito, falam da sua autodeterminação. Outras palavras serão tão diferentes daquelas ideias que estão por detrás da ideia de socialismo? Não sabemos. Teremos é que ir averiguar. Isso averigua-se através de procedimentos de tradução intercultural.
Okay, what can you tell me about What do you think? It's related to
Where he mentions a concept like cultural translation, and if we see, or if I understood well, yeah, it requires not only learning about just theoretical issues or theoretical aspects from the specific group of people, but also learning how do they apply that knowledge, how do they live that knowledge, and how can we transfer the knowledge and experiences into our context. It's like or taking into account the word translation is what we have to do when we translate a text from a language to another. We have to take in mind, or to keep in mind, the intention of the text, the meaning of each one of the words, and the intention of the author and the context where the text was written, for giving a meaning, for giving a translation of that text. So in the same way, when we do our research and when we have a contact with the population, so of course we need to be able to translate that complete background to what we are learning or to what we are searching.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Yes, that's basically what I wanted to say, right? So it basically our culture, our cultural context, our social context, so everything related to our context, which is basically that nowadays what we study. Yes, our phenomenon, our social interaction, these kind of things. I wanted to show you something that I mentioned at the beginning about my thesis master. Oh, it was about local narratives in Boyacá. Yo no encuentro dónde está. Framework. Here is like a narratives, what are narratives? So this is what I wanted to show you, and it is the pedagogical intervention. So, and of course, what was following in a private school, the objective, and it is. So I designed some words related to that. I'm gonna show you in a way. And here is one of the most important things when you're going to do your research, and it is the research time, okay? To research. Paradigm, research approach, of research. Mine was action research. So, well, for example, it was narrative. The first narrative was my success story. The topic was success in their families or relatives. How language had changed, expressions they used in the past but have changed over time. My familiar traditions, religion, gastronomy, land. So, acá tiene lo último. Son como los extractos de lo que yo hice, de lo que los chicos hicieron. Yo ya les muestro. Bueno, entonces, research question, objectives, instruments, categories, and subcategories. This is one of the things when we do qualitative studies. So what? This is one of the workshops. For example, look at the following pictures and tell me who they are and if you identify them. Remember, I'm talking about Boyacá, so that's why I include these people here, okay? So, of course, it was in a private school. I had to implement the whole skills, like grammar, listening, well, this kind of thing. So that's why. And here, I think you can next. Como la carta. Well, it was, what did you like to do with time? It was for the need analysis, for the consent form. There was some of the first things that I did for doing this project. So, you can see. In this case, I asked to parents what they think about our culture, Boyacá in this case. And if those are the workshops, according to what you have identified in pictures about, what do you think about them? In groups of three, read the following biographies and create a poster with most relevant aspects. Jesús Guerrero, by Nairo Alexander Ana Rojas, and Jorge Velosa Ruiz. Well, then questions, what is your perception of them related to Boyacá culture? Do you think they have to contribute to our budget lens? But those are questions like interpret, and this is like the title for the narrative they had to develop in that time, like my successful story. And it was taking into account a relative who was successful in their family. Doesn't matter who, mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin, whatever. So they had to create this kind of, it was like the format. Here is another one. So it was related to how language has changed. So write the story of your Boya sense narrative about your success or with life. But that's the first one. And this one, it is about the traditions in Boyacá. Okay. Ask your parents, grandparents, or relatives what is the special dish or the most important religious activity that has left a mark on their family, and tell us why. Okay. So this is what I wanted to show you. It was my master thesis. So it was some of the extras. Look at that. So it was great, for example, to see that at that moment, because I would identify a lot of things for them, right? That was like interesting things in their family, how they admire their family. So it was quite interesting. So I wanted to show you that. I wanted to remind you some of the studies that you can have, of course, if it is qualitative. Later, I think we touch quantitative studies, but for now, it is about it. I don't know if you have questions. You are mute.
Where are you from, teacher Tunja?
Yes, I'm from
Yeah,
Tunja.
we saw that. No, in the research project that you showed us, yeah, we saw all the cultural background, the main artists, Jorge Velosa, Quintana, the cyclist.
I
Yeah,
don't know if you
so
know who is Quijano. I think he is the creator of Servientrega.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
which where did you develop that project?
it
Which
was
school?
it was here at Presentación School.
Ah, okay, okay.
You know that?
Yeah, I started at UPTC, so Presentación School is near to the university, isn't it? Yeah,
So you are
yeah.
from here, from Boyacá?
I'm from Santander, and I
Okay.
started the bachelor at UPTC. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So now why you move Wait.
Long story, teacher, long story. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, that project maybe I guess it worked good in that population, but I also guessing that it has a bigger impact on rural students, don't you think? Because they are more linked to that kind of traditions that the urban students. But I guess what in Tunja people love traditions, people love the that kind of customs, and yeah, we love the folks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, some of the students were they live in the countryside. They travel every day, so it was
Mm.
quite curious and interesting to know that. It's like okay, one of the extracts was related to from I don't remember like they liked I don't know they create the Margaritas company.
Mm.
One of the relatives, it was like okay, wow, and one of the best horses. I don't know how to say like bueno como los establos de caballos y todo eso. Yo
Mhm.
that was interesting to know that in that. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's curious because when we teach English, we also or we tend to teach them about English speaking countries, culture, and their traditions, and yeah, the foreign. Always we tend to think about the foreigners, but what about our traditions? So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
that's what
good.
I wanted to do with that. I like okay, rescue some of our things that probably we forgot. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. Did you have questions, guys? Something else?
Um, no, I don't. I don't. The activity guide for this phase is it's I don't remember it very well. It's about creating the methodological background. I don't remember it very well.
Okay, let me check. It is about the instrument. It
The
is like
instruments.
to systematize and
So in this phase, we have to apply them. We have to.
yes.
Okay.
So it is manage the data collected through valid research instruments in order to ensure methodological rigor and reliability in the analysis for fine.
Okay,
So yeah.
teacher.
So any another question, guys? No?
Maybe I will
Okay,
have a lot of questions when I have applied the instrument. Maybe
no
I will
worries.
ask you. Mhm.
Don't hesitate and contact me, okay? Okay, guys. So it was a pleasure to see you and talk to you. So I think next time, hope more people are here.
Okay,
Okay.
teacher.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm in the street right now, and I don't have a chance to listen to what you were saying. I was trying to pay attention, but I require something for you. Can we have a meeting, let's say next week, in a time that you have available?
Yes, I think so. Yes. On
Okay,
when? No, on Tuesday. Tuesday
okay. What time would it be up to you to be present in your meeting?
at 11 a.m. Does it work for you?
Yes, yes, yes. That would be great.
Okay. Okay. Please
Okay, bye bye.
let me a reminder in the chat so I can
Of course.
remember. Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Okay.
Bye bye bye.
Bye. Okay. Bye, guys. Nice to see you.
Thank you, teacher.